is full of awesome and mind-blowing moments where a character just shows everyone their true power. It's simply breathtaking just seeing them in action, and some even give me literal goosebumps. And as you know, one video just wasn't enough for that, and that's why we've made another. From turning everything into dust and rubble to dominating an entire army of ninjas like a god. These are the top 20 showcases of power, Volume 2. Starting off our list is Gilgamesh versus Ryder in Fate Zero. Now, it's no secret that Fate has always had some amazing fights, but one that stood out was the battle against Alexander the Great and his majesty Gilgamesh, the king of Babylon. They weren't kidding around, and Gilgamesh instantly went all out. But what made it just so awesome was the fact that Gilgamesh didn't even feel threatened, and with one move opened the gates of Babylon itself. The animation was out of this world, and the music made the moment even better. One attack was all it took to slice the entire world apart and break Ryder's noble phantasm like it was just nothing. Gilgamesh's noble phantasm could destroy all of creation, obliterating Ryder's army and wiping the smile off his face. Gilgamesh truly showed why he wasn't just called the king of Babylon, but also the king of heroes. Instead of two powerful beings fighting against each other, let's see what happens when they fight side by side. That's exactly what happens when Joker and Benimaru fought against the Holy Soul's Shadow in Fire Force. We know that Benimaru was already overpowered, but what's surprising is that Joker isn't someone you should also push around. He was a former member of Holy Soul's Shadows, and he's out for revenge. Throughout the entire fight, Benimaru was just breaking bones and teaching lessons to the assassins who thought they could even scratch him. Of course, the animation was godly, and seeing Benimaru be so cold while shooting out flames so hot just made it even better. But Joker was the highlight of this battle. At first, it was like he was losing, but he proved us wrong. He might not be as strong as Benimaru, but he's as ruthless as him. He let his former commander think he was going to lose, which is a really smart move, only to make him hallucinate in one amazingly animated yet creepy moment. Even his killer move was just so cold, blitzing the guy with the Joker card. But we're not done with powerhouses yet, because we have another moment where the villain just completely overpowers everyone, and it's when Shigaraki decays everything in My Hero Academia. Now, when I say everything, I mean everything. May it be buildings, the ground, or even the unlucky heroes who just didn't run fast enough. Shigaraki's awakening just made every part of the hero's plans turn to dust, both literally and figuratively. His decay was so powerful that the heroes couldn't do anything but just run away, or else they'd disintegrate. Endeavor, the current #1 hero, couldn't even take him out. Not only can Shigaraki's decay affect a wide area, but he can instantly regenerate any wounds he's taken. If it wasn't for Gran Torino, Eraserhead, and the other heroes, Deku would have instantly died and MHA would have just ended right there. Shigaraki was going toe-to-toe against the top heroes of Japan, and he wasn't even breaking a sweat. So wait and see what happens next, because I promise you, things are only just starting, and Shigaraki is going to become an even bigger menace. This one is a classic and was an outright surprising turn of events. You see, if you thought Goku was the strongest being in Dragon Ball, then you're wrong, because there are so many more beings that are stronger than him. Two examples are Zeno and Zamasu, but one of these two is just in another league. If you didn't know, Zamasu is an apprentice of the Supreme Kai in Universe 10, and our heroes were in a lot of trouble. But that was until Goku had the genius idea to call Zeno the current strongest being and ruler of the multiverse. So with just one move, he made all of existence go away. That's crazy to think about, because a creature that looks more like a Pokemon can just wipe out in existence. It wasn't epic and there were no crazy explosions, but just seeing Grand Zeno in action left me in awe. He really deserves to be the ruler of the multiverse, but it's just weird how Goku can trick him like he has the brain of a child. Anyway, it shows that you should never mess with short people, especially those who can erase you in a snap. Mob Psycho 100 is full of amazing fights where ultimate power is outright displayed, but this one is just a banger. and it's the battle between Mob and Dimple. Dimple was originally a villain, but he soon became one of Mob's closest allies. But friendships can only go so far, especially if one of you is an evil spirit. Dimple didn't mess around and he instantly went God Dimple mode. But his mistake was that he bit off more than he could chew, and Mob showed him that no matter how many godly attacks he threw at him in the Divine Tree, he was still the strongest in the universe of Mob Psycho. As expected of this series, the animation is just awesome, on par with the first seasons of One Punch Man, or even better actually. Although there are some comedic moments, it doesn't mean that there are no emotions involved. It was such a great fight since it symbolized Dimple's entire character arc from a bad guy turned good to someone who just went back to his old ways. In the end, Dimple's death made everyone burst into tears as he gave up his old ways for his friend. Now, you already know what this moment's going to be all about, and it's none other than the fight between Kaneki and Jason in Tokyo Ghoul. This is one of the greatest showcases of power in anime, and we all know why. Everything was done right, with the music, the animation, and the feels. Kaneki was being horribly tortured by Jason, but that's when he made his mistake, because you never make the main character go crazy. Kaneki just turned the tables instantly, and Jason didn't see what was coming. What's worse than your bones being broken and almost being defeated? Being forced to do math backwards. Kaneki literally made a ghoul classified to be extremely dangerous. That's why you should never make the MCs go rage mode, because you never know what's going to happen. Well, it's more likely that you'll end up getting beaten up, or worst scenario, eaten, like Jason, but you get my point. Now, what's better than beating your opponent to a pulp up close? Well, beating them to a pulp from miles and miles away, and that's exactly what happened during Makima's long-range kills in Chainsaw Man. Makima is a very attractive yet mysterious character that we know nothing about. We don't know what kind of devil she has contracts with, but what we do know is that she is undeniably strong. I mean, she was performing rituals on a shrine atop a mountain using prisoners as sacrifices when suddenly her enemies were being crushed by an unknown force. What made it even more disturbing and creepy was the fact that her victims had an uneasy feeling as if they already knew it was going to be the end for them. One by one, all of them were reduced to nothing, and it was just brutal. They couldn't do anything and no one could help them. All they could do was wait until they suffered a horrible and gruesome death. There's no doubt that Makima is a being no one should mess with. A newcomer takes this spot, and it's the ending of the first episode of Ninja Kamui. Bet you may not have heard of this one before, as it's a pretty new show, but it is undoubtedly badass. What's not to like about ninjas fighting in the modern world? And there was that elevator scene that was just gruesome. You can clearly tell the style is Western, and it actually makes the series feel much more serious. The impact frames and the animation are top notch, and the entire fight was just awesome and bloody. Even while just wearing hospital clothes, he was able to massacre all of his enemies and then proceeded to brutally kill their leader. They didn't only show us a good battle, but made an amazing first impression that most of us will never forget. Now, here's one that uses brawn and one giant sword. Let's take a look at when Striga was in her day armor in Castlevania. Striga's one of the strongest vampires in the series, so when humans attacked their camp in broad daylight, a lot of us were surprised that she actually had armor that could surpass a vampire's only weakness, the sun. She definitely stood on business, and she even looked like guts with her sword. As a vampire, she was strong enough to one-punch a horse and just massacre the attackers. She was fast, mean, and powerful, and her presence alone was enough to turn the entire tide of the battle. Even though she was fighting villagers, it was a brutal scene that showcased the true power of a vampire general. She slayed humans in this moment because although she was one of the villains, seeing her enter rage mode was just awesome. Next up, we have Gabimaru decimating the convicts in Hell's Paradise. What the prisoners here failed to realize is that they should have just agreed when Gabimaru said that he didn't want to fight, because when they pushed him to the edge, even though his hands were tied, he didn't hesitate to kill everyone with anything he could get his hands on. From kicks to his chains and even his mouth, he obliterates everyone that's charging right through him. It was a bloody scene that left even the most ruthless characters' jaws wide open. That's why they call him Gabimaru the Hollow, because when he takes lives, he feels nothing, does what he needs to survive, and it's just cold. The animation and the reflection of the sun and the sea, as well as the music here, made the moment even more dramatic. You also have to know that these weren't normal criminals. They were Japan's most dangerous killers, but seeing Gabimaru one-shot all of them made them look like fodder. Smashing his way into this list, we have the moment in Cyberpunk Edge Runners when Adam Smasher destroys the heroes. Right from the get-go, what makes this particular moment stand out is the fact that the villain actually wins. Adam Smasher did really deserve the name Smasher, and you'll know once you see what he does to Rebecca. Now, we thought they were finally in the clear and we're going to get a happy ending, but no. He bursts out of the ceiling and picks off the MCs one by one. Even David, who had one of the most OP modifications, couldn't win against him. Adam Smasher just kept tearing him apart piece by piece until nothing was left. It was a gruesome and horrifying moment that showed us that the MCs don't always get the win. But honestly, and I know you might agree with me on this one, it made the series a whole lot better, which surprised a lot of us. The game received a lot of hate, but the anime made sure the franchise was going to have a comeback. Similar to the Kaneki vs Jason fight, we're all familiar with how this one turned out, but we love it all the same. Next up is Levi vs the Beast Titan in Attack on Now this happened right after the rock-hard speech that Erwin gave. Zeke thought he'd won, but when he looked around and saw that the Titans around him were dead, that's when he met the character that was going to be the reason why he started having a losing streak. The music and animation were insane, and Levi was just merciless. Even if Zeke hardened his nape, Levi just kept slashing and slashing until he forced Zeke out himself. It was an ultimate display of power for humanity's strongest soldier, seeing as he was able to single-handedly defeat one of the strongest and most intelligent Titan shifters. If it wasn't for Peak, Zeke's life should have ended there and then. They may call Zeke the Beast Titan, but the true beast during this moment was Levi and his If you're digging the display of awesomeness, then hit that like button and smash that subscribe. Now, let's get back to the video. Moving on, the Overlord series is full of overpowered characters, but there wasn't a single moment that was as brutal or as menacing as the moment when Ainz takes off his ring. A bunch of idiots decided it would be a great idea to raid the Great Tomb of Nazarick and, even worse, lie about knowing Ainz's precious allies. That's when they realised the immense gap between theirs and Ainz's powers, as, keep in mind, Ainz is a mage and he's throwing hands against them. When Ainz decided it was time to play his game, he removed his ring and made their mage barf from pure terror. She couldn't even comprehend his strength and just gave up. He then proceeded to just take care of them one by one and even used Touch of Undeath, where one single point of contact results in death. Everything they did was futile, and at the very start, they stood no chance whatsoever. When they took their first step inside the Tomb of Nazarick, they'd already signed their death sentence, and Ainz made sure to fulfill it. Going back to the classics, we have Fist of the North Star, Kenshiro vs Jugai. Fist of the North Star is a series that's just oozing testosterone, and it became even more badass during this moment. Even the music just screamed manliness. It wasn't only Jugai, as Kenshiro was already defeating enemies by just pointing at them and making them blow up from the inside out. Somehow, it's more awesome than it is ridiculous, and I think it's because Kenshiro is just dead serious when he's fighting. They even tried firing arrows at him, but he just countered and made it fly back his enemy's way. Even though it's a bit more comedic than epic, there's no doubt that it's one of the craziest and most entertaining showcases of power in all of anime. There are two words you can use to describe it: ridiculous and awesome. Throughout the entire Hellsing franchise, deep down, we knew that Alucard wasn't showing his true abilities. That's why next on our list is Alucard releasing his restraints in Hellsing Ultimate. From start to finish, it was just a bloodbath, and Alucard even summoned his army to make his enemies' nightmares even worse. Alucard was strong on his own, but with him unleashing his true power on the soul of his victims, he brought hell onto Earth itself. They saw Alucard's true form, Dracula, and they weren't kidding when they said he was the devil himself. I mean, they weren't wrong, because Alucard consumed his own soldiers just so he could use them in the future. This included horses, by the way. If he was a force to be reckoned with in his original form then, now he's on par with the gods themselves, and anyone who stands in his way will just be another one of the monsters he'll create far into the future. It was cool, it was terrifying, and it was truly a showcase of strength. Now, this is one of the entries with the more recent anime on this list, and it's when Sung Jin-woo was fighting against the Hunter Killers in Solo Leveling. Solo Leveling is a new anime, and it was adapted from a Korean manga or manhwa. But even though it's new, it's already got a massive fan base because of its amazing animation and epic fight scenes. So far, this is one of the best, but trust me when I say that it's not going to be the last. Sung Jin-woo was previously known as the weakest hunter of all mankind, but things became better when he realized he could level up. A bunch of hunters tried to kill them, and Sung Jin-woo taught them a lesson they'll never forget. And that's because he was the last thing they ever saw. They couldn't even see his movements, and one by one he took care of them like they were fodder. You can even see the fear in the mage's eyes as Sung Jin-woo gave him the jump scare of a lifetime and proceeded to stab him with his dagger. The animation and the music were godlike, and I think it has the possibility of becoming one of the best shonen anime to come out in 2024. Punching its way into the top 5 is One Punch Man, Saitama vs. Boros. Out of all the enemies Saitama has faced so far in this anime, Boros was the only one who put up a good fight, and it was a battle for the ages. There's no doubt that Saitama had some fun during this battle, and so did Boros. The animation? Well, it was breathtaking. The choreography? Eye-melting. The music and sound effects? Ear-shattering. It was a battle that could very well have decided the fate of humanity itself, and even though Boros was going through power-up after power-up, Saitama just kept a poker face the entire time. When he did decide to fight back, it was like Boros was just an ant, and he was a praying mantis. I mean, their entire battle made it all the way to the moon, and every one of their hits felt like it was going to destroy an island. From beginning to end, it was just mind-blowing, and Boros was a true warrior that didn't give up until the end. But all it took was Saitama to cast one serious punch, end things once and for all. Entering our last 3 entries is Senjumaru Shutana's Bankai vs. Yuha's Royal Guards in Bleach 1000-Year Blood War. Bankai. まといて立てるものはなし First, you have to know that this scene isn't in the manga, and the anime justified it as to why Zero Squad was defeated, and it was worth it. It turns out they entered a pact where they couldn't use their true potential in Bankai, as it's strong enough to destroy the entire Bleach universe. That's why the 3 members sacrificed their lives so that Senjumaru could use hers, and it was epic and terrifying at the same time. Basically, her Bankai allows her to create pocket dimensions and eternally torture and punish her enemies inside it. It was so strong that it shook the entire foundation of Soul Society and Yuha's Royal Guards, the strongest Quincy's there are, and they couldn't do anything to counter it. The way they animated it was just beautiful, and you could really feel the Bankai's complexity. Now, imagine what would happen if every member of Squad Zero could use their Bankai. It would just be a massacre. You might have expected us to add Gear 5, but that's old news by now, so that's why we chose Law versus Blackbeard in One Piece. This was a recent fight as well, but there's no doubt that it was still an amazing showcase of power from both Blackbeard and Law. Even though his crew was outclassed and they were outgunned, Law didn't back down and made Blackbeard feel pain for every step he took towards him. Their Haki and Devil Fruits were so powerful that they literally changed the landscape and made the air produce shockwaves so strong any normal person would just fly away. Though I also didn't pull any punches when it came to the animation, because even if this was just a battle between side characters, they animated the hell out of it. From Blackbeard's Gura Gura no Mi to Law using his awakened devil fruit powers, it was one beautiful battle that we're just lucky to have seen. Lastly, we couldn't make a showcase of power video if we didn't have this one in there. Madara takes on the Shinobi Alliance in Naruto. You probably have seen this battle about a dozen times, but it's just so awesome that we couldn't help but add it. Madara was facing off against thousands of Shinobis, and it didn't even look like that he was the one outnumbered. No matter what they threw against him, may it be a Rasengan or Gaara Sand, Madara just counters with something even more extreme. I mean, he threw not one, but 2 meteors that decimated the entire Shinobi Alliance. Throughout the entire battle, Madara was just old and showed everyone why he was considered second only to the god of Shinobi himself. Madara wasn't even showing his true strength, and he already defeated most of the Shinobi that they deployed against him. I just feel sorry for the first ones who fought against him because there's no doubt they already saw their ancestors. Up to this day, it still remains one of the best showcases of power in all of anime. That ends our video on the top 20 showcases of power volume 2. What were your favourite showcases of power? Let us know in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe and share this video with your friends, and I'll see you on the next one.